Morning, everyone. It's week 7 now. Is it week 7 or week 8? We missed a week, didn't we? We missed one. We missed last week, so we got to catch up on 1 week. So by right, what I'm telling you today is week 7, but it's all right. We can work on that one. So today you're going to submit your final product, which is your mask, and these will be done during your tutorial class, not now, okay? So your respective lecturers will be assessing your presentations later in class. I'm sure you're going to have a lot of fun. Make sure you take some video clips and put that on your blog as well. This is already week 8, so are you guys all pretty busy with other modules? Oh my gosh, yeah. Things are happening, isn't it? Anybody want to share their pain? Say no more. Well, I'm going to make it short and sweet today because we're going to do some exercises on ideation, because the 5th step in creative thinking, as a follow-up from the past 4 steps. We have already gone the first step, ask. Second step was learn. Third step, observe. Fourth is play. And now the 5th, you've got to put your thinking caps on. Now, in creative thinking, thinking is a general word, but there are strategies for thinking. There are strategies in how you can organize your thoughts. Now, thinking comes in many forms. Thinking, you can also think out loud. As we discussed in previous lectures, you can use your senses to observe, and you can play around with all the different tools and different kinds of methodology. Everyone okay? No, okay. So we've got to think about it, right? Now, if you want to be creative, now in this case, your situation needs you to be creative because you are in the middle of a semester where things are converging, that you're going to be able, you need to be handling your workload. You need to work on managing this. And what are the best solutions into how you're going to manage your workload? So every day you're going to be dealing with problems. So if you want to solve it, you have to be able to be fluent. As we have constantly told you, you have to be visually fluent about problem solving. You have to think out loud. There has to be a way that you could actually put that translation onto a document like your idea journal, right? Now, the exercises that you will go through in class today is merely, although they're just ideation exercise, but they're in the form of mapping out your thoughts. So you're going to have to learn how to put and organize your arguments, your mental arguments. Now, what does that mean? Now, is it possible to discover new ideas by doing this? It is possible because everything starts with a question, with the problem questions. So how do we handle your workload? How are you going to handle managing different module submissions? How are you going to handle this and that, okay? So asking the question alone may not be enough because you need to be able to break down that question and expand on that. So it means it requires fluency, right? So as we have spoken about before, the importance of translating your ideas onto your idea journal is so crucial because all of you are visual students and you have to learn, you have to inculcate the discipline, the habit and the discipline to think out loud. Because if you don't practice that, you will be limiting yourself. If you choose not to put visuals into your idea journal, then you're going to be stagnant. That means you're not going to develop. You're going to be staying there. I'm not saying it's it's wrong. I'm not saying it's a crime, but you're going to be staying there, and so will your grade. Your grades will be there. You know what your grades mean? Your grades are like measurement. Your grades measure. That's why we have a rubric. Your rubric measures what's required in order for you not to be stagnant. Do you know what stagnant means? Like a puddle of water, right? The water just stays there. It does not go anywhere. And what happens? The water evaporates. Do you want to evaporate? I don't think so. You need to be able to develop yourself. Now, whether you have a lot of workload, whether you have responsibilities, it is a sense of discipline that you have to realize. Now, everything needs discipline. So does ideation. The only discipline when it comes to ideation is you translating that idea onto your journals. So now is week 8. This is the first quarter of the semester. And you need to get going already. You need to start pushing your gear shift into 5 gears, 5th gear, and start going, start moving. I'm not in any way trying to tell you to lose sleep, all right? It's natural for you to stay up late, to lose sleep and whatever, but what I'm trying to say is find a way to manage it. Find a way to manage this thing. And you have to come up with a question, how do you manage this, right? So by translating ideas, by finding ways, by putting all kinds of alternatives into your idea journal, is highly possible because you have a variety of options. You see, one of the important things about putting ideas in an idea journal or ideation or mapping out your thoughts is that it gives you the opportunity to make choices. Because you are in the process, you're on the journey of choice making. Whether you like it or not, you're developing, you're growing, you're maturing throughout the journey to your degree. But in the process, you're going to have to make lots of different decisions. Okay? So it doesn't matter how you put it, doesn't matter what style you use. We are pretty much open. We invite you, in fact, we allow you, we encourage you to experiment in your idea journal. So get going with it, post-it notes, you name it, ball of yarn and things like that. Just use it, okay? Stickers, comic versions, all right? If you want to do storyboards, whichever, pictorials, anything is relevant. There's no limit. There's no limit to how you can record your visuals because every one of you, you're very unique in the way you see things. Now, visuals in your idea journal, I'm stressing this. This is very important because this is going to affect you badly. If you're not going to take ideation seriously, then you're not fulfilling the outcome of this module. Okay? There's one man back in 1966. Now, lots of creative researchers and neuroscientists and educationists, you know, until today, they are still using his method to test, to measure the way you record ideas. To measure the number of ideas or the amount of ideas, the quality of ideas that you can record. Now, there are 4 areas of these tests, and our rubric is largely based on this test, okay? So, number 1 is fluency, excuse me. Fluency, flexibility, originality, and elaboration. Now, what is fluency? Now, we have explained this before. Fluency means quantifying your ideas. We have repeatedly told you from the beginning, from your first assignment, the weaknesses that we noticed in your idea journal or during the ideation exercise for your assignment was that there was a lack. There's a great lack of fluency. So you got to quantify it. You know what stops you from quantifying it? Do you know what stops you? Judgment. Because you start judging yourself. You got to stop judging yourself. Stop judging your ideas. The moment you try to quantify your ideas and then you tell your ideas, you tell yourself that this is wrong, this is this is not good or whatever, right? Now, if you start to tell yourself this thing, then suddenly you just stop. Because you start to be afraid, then fear sets in. Then when fear sets in, it's a stumbling block. It just stops you from continuing. Do not let that happen to you. Okay? There's no judge. When you want to quantify ideas, do not judge yourself. All right? Now, what about flexibility? Now, flexibility is how you stretch the ideas and how many points of view. For example, you can ask questions like, what happens if you turn that into this? Like, let's say if you take a ball and you quantify the number of round things that you can produce out of a ball, then what if you take one of those objects that you have quantified and you stretch it further? You come up with more things with it. What if you cut the ball in half? What if you join this ball with other ball and make it like a long thing or whatever, stuff like that. So like cars, okay? Like how do you develop the car into something else? How do you stretch the ideas basically? How you expand on it? Okay? So flexibility is that. That's why you call it flexibility, because you're trying to stretch it. You're trying to go far with that one particular idea based on what you've quantified. You follow? Then you have originality. Originality is about this. You may have quantified the ideas, you may have had one aspect of the flexibility, but we're going to look at, hold on, is this similar to that idea over there? Have we seen this before? So that is the test, because we want to be able to see how similar your ideas as compared to other ideas. Have other people produced that? Have you emulated that? Have you copied that? Right? So originality is about trying to create something fresh and new. The attempt to create something fresh and new. When I say attempt means you have to put in the effort to try to do that. I'm not trying to say that, I know some of you think that you want to do the fresh new thing, but that's not enough. But you got to attempt it. That means there's a possibility that for original thinking, you may have produced a working model. You may have produced alternatives. All right? I'm not talking about one miserable idea there, I'm saying original alternatives. Okay? So that's possibility. And elaboration? Elaboration is about details. How much detail? In terms of aesthetics, what kind of style are you incorporating? What are the details on that window? That sort of thing. What kind of plan? You talk about plan, strategy, detail, what else? Construct. Something that elaboration is really about the schematics to how it can actually be done and how does it work? How does the mechanism work? How does this work? How does this connect? How that, and so on and so forth. If it's confined to more to painting and visuals, then more to elaboration on details in terms of strokes, in terms of the application of type of ink and so on and so forth. So elaboration is one of these things that we can look into that and be very critical. We'll be very critical about how much detail you put into your creation, into your original work. You follow? So these 4 areas is the test. Now we have uploaded the version 2 of the rubric. The version 2 of the rubric, on each category, it has specific information for you to refer to. That's your guideline. Okay, so when we mark you based on that rubric, that is what we are going to look for. So there are certain aspects we want to look for quantity, there are certain aspects we want to look for flexibility, and so on and so forth. There are 4 categories in that rubric. So hope you download that and see that for yourself. Don't be caught off guard when you get your grades later on. You have been warned. Now, again, Roger Vaughan Oak is a creative thinking expert as well. He's written books. He has come up with toys, creative thinking toys and stuff like that. And he has he has a list of 10 different things that talks about barriers. Now, these 10 barriers to creativity, number one, the right answer. If you think that you're aiming to get the right answer, you're greatly mistaken. Because if you're going to insist that that is the one answer that you want to get, then I don't think you're going to be able to expand your mind. You won't be able to be flexible enough. All right? Number two, that's not logical. And if you start judging yourself when you're quantifying ideas, you immediately telling yourself, it's not logical. When we ask you to brainstorm an idea, then suddenly one of you will think about, oh, let's put wings on this toaster and just throw it upstairs and hope the toaster can fly. If you're going to tell yourself that's not logical when you want to quantify the idea, then you're not going to go further with that. That is not a wrong thing. Don't judge it, okay? So that's, if it's not logical, all the better. Let it not be logical, okay? Number three, follow the rules. Now, if you always expect to be told, if you always expect to be reminded about the rules, there's also you're going to fall into the trap of judgment, okay? So basically, you should break the rules. Number four, be practical. You've got to be practical. Someone tells you, hey, be practical about that idea, okay? All right? Well, what do you mean by be practical? What does it really mean? So that's the question you should ask. Play is frivolous. It means do not play. There's no such thing as humor in this. That's great. That's a wrong assumption. You cannot assume that play is inappropriate. Okay? Number six, that's not my area. If I were to tell you to come up with an idea on how best to treat a patient, for example, in a clinic. If I were to ask any one of you how best to treat a patient in a clinic, will you be able to give some ideas on that? You should, right? Or are you going to tell, that's not my area. That's not my job. Oh, come on, go and take that flower pot and move it over there. Oh, that's not my job. That's the gardener's job. Sound familiar? Now, if you're going to have that attitude, oh, sorry. Number seven, avoiding ambiguity. The word ambiguity means unclear. Sometimes, okay, you will find that assignments are intentionally made to be ambiguous. Why? Because they want you to brainstorm, to ideate, to come up with a solution on your own. Sometimes they are designed that way. Sometimes the situation you are in is ambiguous as well, can be quite confusing. But how are you going to put that together for yourself? How are you going to solve that problem? So ambiguity is an opportunity. Confusion is an opportunity. If there's problems are an opportunity. If you see this as an opportunity, then you can be creative. You can engage in a creative thinking. And number 8, to err is wrong. To err is wrong means, err here means to make mistakes. It's wrong to make mistakes. That's wrong. That's a wrong assumption. You should make mistakes. Mistakes are important because without mistakes, you can't find possibilities. I'm not saying answers. Because the solution, it can take a long time to get the solution. But in terms of possibilities, yes. That's why I say you have alternatives. Creative thinking is about creating possibilities. It is not like a magic wand, and then you get your answer. Doesn't work that way. Number 9, don't be foolish. If some of your friends tell a joke, and then you're going to tell your friend, hey, stop being an idiot, okay? Now, encourage the person to be an idiot. I know it sounds wrong. But in this context, sometimes when someone proposes a very bizarre idea, it's not a foolish thing, but this is connected to the number 2, right? And connected to number 2, connected to number 4. Yeah, don't worry about being foolish. Sometimes you judge yourself. You will just tell yourself, hey, I sound stupid. Stop that. Stop thinking that way. You do not sound stupid. No matter how simple it is, no matter how strange your ideas are, it is not stupid. Okay? It's not foolish. Number 10, that is the biggest crime. For you to say and affirm that I'm not creative. I'm just thinking now. What's your name again? Yeah. Jürgen. Jürgen. What does it mean? What's the meaning of your name? Yes. Okay, but what's the definition of your name? What does it mean? There's a meaning, right? Of course there is a meaning. Do you know the meaning? We can Google it. No, it'll take time. Anyone who knows the meaning of their name here? Yes? What's your name again? So what's the meaning of Sarah? Princess? So Sarah, the meaning of Sarah is princess. Where? Okay. Now, if the meaning of your name is princess, how old are you, Sarah? You're 19. For 19 years, your parents have been calling you princess. And people are going to be calling you princess for the next maybe 50 years. You see my point? If for the next 50 plus 19 years, people call you princess, you will be a princess. In fact, for 19 years, people call you a princess, you are a princess already. You know why? Because you believe it. You know, if you call somebody idiot for 19 years, that person will turn into an idiot. Because the person will start to believe that he's an idiot. It's very important. It's called affirmation. It's called affirmation. You've got to affirm that. It's very important to your mind. If you're going to tell yourself for the next 10 years, I'm not creative, I'm not creative, nah, I'm not creative, nah, I'm not creative, then you have trapped yourself. You trapped yourself in a box and you won't be able to come out of that. All right? So stop saying that to yourself. Tell yourself I'm creative. Tell yourself I'm beautiful. Tell yourself I'm handsome. Tell yourself this. The positive affirmation is so important. My friends tell me that, okay? And I'm learning that too, every day. So sometimes we forget, right? So sometimes we need a friend to give ourselves a whack on the head, right? Sometimes, you know, getting yourself a whack on the head, okay? There's so many kinds of whack on the head. They come in many forms. Sometimes, God forbid, if a whack on the head could come from the form of a mishap or a mistake. It could be a big error. Maybe it was an event, okay? An event, a wedding event, and suddenly you were carrying the cake, you know, and then you tripped and the wedding cake fell down on the floor. That was like, oh my gosh, everybody's like looking on you, all eyes was on you. That was like the biggest embarrassing moment. Has anyone had an embarrassing moment before? Yeah? What was your embarrassing moment? You fell off? Fell off the horse. Your towel fell off. The whack on the side of the head is the one that will wake you up, that will make you see things. Sometimes you can't avoid it, but sometimes you want to intentionally, you know, get someone. Sometimes it needs a third person to do it. So the more often we do things the same way, we don't realize it. We tend to do things, repeat things all the time, but we don't realize that we keep doing things the same way, then we're again trapping ourselves. So it's difficult to think of it being done any other way. Have you ever heard that before? There are people who do things the same way for years, and if you want them to change, they don't want to change. These individuals are resistant to change. You're going to face these people one day. All right? And these people could be in the form of very educated people. You never know. And don't be surprised, really educated people may be very hard to change. Sometimes people who are elderly, who are really experienced, they will tell you, I know everything. Look, man, that's how it is. You can't change that. All right? Heard that before? Yeah, but you're itching to want to change something. So if you hear these people telling you, that's just the way it goes and nothing's going to change, all right? That's how it is. We are like that. They are like that. Things are like that. Are you going to accept like that? There's got to be a way around it, isn't it? Yes, you will need to be patient, but don't just accept defeat. All right? Don't give up. So change is good. Whack opens your creative genius. Sometimes we need a whack to disrupt our habitual patterns. When we work on these same patterns, it becomes a habit, it becomes a ritual, right? We will talk about rituals in the future lectures. So we need fresh approaches. Now, when you need having a whack kind of experience, you will be able to spot problems. You will be able to spot possibilities as well. Okay? So generating new ideas. Don't see problems as a problem. Always see problems or whacks as opportunity. Okay? So there comes all kinds of shapes and sizes and unexpected situations. You never know. Now it's applicable to society, to community, to culture. It applies to every people group in this world, in every nation. There's always problems. But it is not the problem that's a problem. It's not the culture that's the problem. It's not the nation that is the problem. It's not the governments that's the problem. It is attitude. It's the attitude. Who is the attitude? Where is the attitude coming from? That's the stumbling block. Sometimes that attitude is stuck in the box because they're too judgmental. Maybe they're resistant to change. Yeah? So you should be able to observe that. Now, for your exercise today, in preparation for your upcoming assignment, which we will assign next week. Yeah? We will assign you this assignment next week, but for today you will have an initial exercise that's called the 6 hats. Now, it's just a fun exercise, but for each tutorial group, it would be good for you to have a piece of mahjong paper, per group, divide yourselves in groups, have a mahjong paper, or you might have whatever paper you have, depends on what your lecturer advise you. Then you're going to engage in a fun ideation, but using the 6 hats. What is the 6 hats? Who created the 6 hats? There is this person who's a creative expert as well called Edward de Bono. He wrote a number of books, and he wrote about the 6 hats. The 6 hats is all about arguments. You know, in a meeting room, in a dinner table or something like that, you tend to argue with everybody, right? You tend to argue about who's right, who's wrong, isn't it? You tend to argue about, even with your friends, hey, you know, who's right, who's wrong, and this idea is better than your idea, you can date this guy better than me, and so on and so forth. I think I like Britney Spears, you like, who? Justin Bieber, and you like Michael Jackson, but people disagree with you, you know, they all and stuff. So now, it can be quite chaotic if you do not control these arguments, but you have to look at it from different angles. Now, how do you control arguments, and how do you use arguments to your advantage? Like I said, problems and confusion, ambiguity can be an opportunity. So how is it? Let's start with the white hat. Now the 6 hats got 6 colors. White here, therefore, is a color. Okay? Yeah, it's not transparent. Intentionally, it's a color. Okay. The white hat represents knowledge, data. The white hat represents information. Okay? All the information about anything, particular thing. Right? The white hat is about that. The white hat talks about wisdom, right? Information. That's why I put the Gandalf. Gandalf is smart and wise, okay? So the white hat, anything to do with knowledge, wisdom, all that, you know, is the white hat, okay? So press save in your head now. Press save. Save as white hat. Saved? Okay, good. All right, the next hat, green hat. Now, the green hat is about creativity. The green hat is about suggestions, about creative ideas. If you were to suggest or come up with information on something that's quite creative, something that's quite innovative, that falls under the category of the green hat. Remember, green hat is anything to do with the bizarre, strange, creative stuff, weird things, okay? No judgment in the creative hat, right? So the creative hat is all very right-brained. Can be all kinds of possibilities. Anything is possible in the green hat. You can suggest just about anything. The red hat. Now the red hat is about how you feel about that particular situation, or how you feel about that problem, how you feel about that idea. How do you feel about it? It's all to do with the emotion. Red hat is about passion, okay? Red hat is about people won't feel nice about the ball being painted red. I think the ball should be painted yellow. And if you paint it red, a lot of them will be angry, you know? So anything to do with emotional implication from an audience, from yourself, from the designer, from the client, that emotional implications falls under the category of the red hat. Okay? So, yeah, moody, very moody stuff. Okay? The black hat. Now the black hat is the negative hat. There has to be somebody who's the critique. There has to be somebody who's the master criticizer. There has to be somebody who's going to think negative. Somebody is going to say, look lad, let's get real here, okay? All right? It's not going to work. You know why it's not going to work? Because there's a crap idea. You know, it doesn't work. Whatever bizarre, strange, so-called innovative thing is going to be too expensive. You know why it's too expensive? Because you're going to use these materials. Sound familiar? So there you go. They're going to have to wear the black hat. You know, you architects, you're going to work with a lot of black hats. Yeah, they're going to pull down, they're going to burst your bubble. But that's an opportunity for you to prove something. So the black hat is a negative hat, and it's a good hat because this is an opportunity to look at how you could improve. Without the black hat, you can't have a balance. Yeah? So the black hat talks about consequences as well. Consequences of what's going to happen if you apply this solution. Sometimes you think this is the right solution and you think you're going to have the right way, but sometimes it can be wrong. So the black hat talks about the negative implications. All right? The yellow hat is very easy. The yellow hat is the opposite of the black hat. The yellow hat is the positive hat. Okay? The yellow hat, I can, yes. Everything is possible. Okay? Now, why can this work? If the black hat says why this cannot work, the yellow hat argues back to the black hat, it can work. So, the yellow hat is about optimism. Optimism. Any kind of optimistic possibility falls under the yellow hat. You follow so far? So, if you want to do the ideation, you have to consider these few things. Then the blue hat. How many hats already? Yeah? This is the sixth one already. Right? Okay, this is the sixth one. So then the blue hat. Now the blue hat is like elaboration. The blue hat is like strategy, planning. How it's going to work. How are you going to make it work? Let's say you pick an idea from the green hat. How are you going to make that work? The blue hat is like the realist. Okay? The details. Yeah. Putting the details together, connecting the dots. How is it going to work? How's the planning going to be done? Right? So the blue hat requires a lot of thinking, a lot of strategy, a lot of planning. And you probably have diagrams, you probably have schematics, you probably have specifications. So the blue hat is very much to that, but it has to connect with an idea from possibly the green hat. Yeah, because the green hat has plenty of different kinds of ideas. Probably the biggest category, you know. So, when you map out your ideas, make sure when you try out these 6 hats, some of what you're going to work with the 6 hats, you're going to work around one specific problem statement or a particular idea. Like, for example, how many users do you have for chocolates? How many users do you have for chocolates? Or how can chocolates, or it could be a question, can chocolates be used to wear? Is chocolates wearable? Yeah? Kim Kardashian, okay, she wore chocolates. She must be edible. Yeah. So you can think about that. So you will work around a particular problem statement, you know, and so on. So make sure you try to be visual. This what I'm showing you is not the 6 hats, but this is just showing a visual schematic. Because you notice up there, there's iconic things that you can draw, doodles, little simple kind of illustrations. They don't have to be so elaborate. Train yourself to make small symbols like this. Train yourself to do it. It's not difficult. You don't have to be good at drawing to do something like that. Okay? So train yourself to do this. This is how the 6 thinking hacks would roughly look like. This is just a basic format of the 6 thinking hats, but it can look any way you like. You don't have to draw hats. It could be like each color could represent something else. But as long as you have the 6 colors. Now you don't have white marker, you can't see white marker, right? So you could use gray for that. Or you could use outline. Best to use gray to represent white. And the rest, you have the colored markers. Now if you have colored markers afterwards, you can use it right? But if you don't have it yet, chances are you need to do that separately and upload it into your blog. But if you do have the colored markers, then you can actually try it out. All right, if you do have color pencils, you can try it out. Or you can have initial brainstorming sessions to come up with something that you can use the 6 thinking hats on. Then the implications of this, whatever that you can find out from the 6 thinking hats, it's possible that we can use some of these ideas that you can come up with for your next assignment. All right? So each lecturer will have their own strategy, will have their own suggestion as to the problem statement, or you can brainstorm and come up with your own problem statement. So there are many ways to do it. This is also another basic way to do it. The branches, you have to have branches that connect. Now, this is in line with the mind mapping technique popularized by Tony Buzan. If you Google Tony Buzan mind map, you will see tons of examples. I don't have to show it up here, right? So you can do that. But the important thing is the connection must be clear. It has to be very clear which is the yellow, which is the white. You can see white is gray there. And you can see which is red, blue, and so on. You can make it illustration based, lots of doodles, lots of symbols. Yeah, have fun with it, okay? You can even use strings, colored strings, to draw the branches. Yeah? So it's good to explore something like that. There are various other ways to create mind maps. Like something like this is also a 6 hats, but it's not a very good way, right? Because you notice the branches are all black. Yeah? But at least the hats, at least you can see the grouping. But the most important thing is clarity. When you want to do a map out your mind like this, you got to have some sense of clarity. Yeah? So I think, yeah, don't worry about this. I'm not too sure why I put this here. Yes. It's important? Okay. Actually, this is to do with design thinking. Not so much of the 6 hats. I wanted to take off these slides, actually. No, I'll just skip this one. Okay. Yeah, it might be confusing. All right. Any questions at this point? Any questions about the 6 hats? How are you all feeling? Put on your red hat. What are you feeling? Stress. Put on the black hat. Why stress? No responder. What? Are you upset? Are you upset with the lecturers? You are upset with the course? Tell me, are you upset with the course structure? You are upset with the amount of credits you have? Are you upset with the number of weeks you have in a course? Are you upset with the date of the deadline? Hit the nail on the head. And what are you going to do about it? Let me ask you a very difficult question, a challenging question. Okay? You might get a whack on the head if you ask that question to your dean or something. I don't know. Can you change the deadline? Can the deadline be changed? Do not quote me on this, okay? I'll be in trouble. Miss D is like, oh. Anything is possible. That's all I can say, all right? I'm not saying you should go and do this, but, you know, this is creative thinking. You guys are in full control of the things that you do, right? But you have a deadline, yes. You've got to abide by the deadline, but find a way to work around it. And don't see the deadline and your workload as the problem. It is a problem, but see that problem as an opportunity for you. That's what it is all about. That is what your FNBE, your FIA, and FID program is all about. It's all about opportunities, because you're going to be going to a degree later on. So this is going to prepare you. Yeah? But you know what? You know who's going to make it bearable? We are. We're going to make it bearable. Okay? Yeah, we wear different hats all the time. So if you need possibilities, you can always talk to us.